In the studio with me is Steve Oruruo, who is the Deputy Chairman of PP in Enugu State. And I'd like to ask Steve, how can we, of course you heard my conversation with Peter Ame, and we talked about people leaving parties, new coalitions and all that. How do you think that once again we can make the political parties an incubation hub for transformational political office holders? I don't want to say transformational leaders. I'm talking about transformational political office. Leaders. Political office holders. How can we make that happen?
Honestly, I think I'm a bit concerned like you are, but I insist that it is possible that within rank and file of the party, we can create a hall that will churn out, consistent leaders, poised and best repositioned to redeem the image of the country. It has been almost a free fall, and I was wondering that as at 1923, when the NDP was formed, actually. Those formed the NDP and formed actually Nigerian Youth Movement in 1935. We're talking about NX to Koli and the likes of Salah Desina. What were they thinking about? Even when Azikiwe, alongside Herbert Macaulay, in 1944 formed the NCNC. What were they thinking about? Were they thinking about the colonization of the processes and of the country? Were they thinking about desertification? Were they thinking about taking another route of suffering and imperialism? Were they thinking about emancipation of the people? What did they have in mind? And for me, they had a system where they believed that we had suffered so long under slavery and had also suffered under colonialism, and the country needed to decolonize their mind. And they wanted that the education system should be manned by their own people, that the infrastructural development should be manned by their own people, that the health system should be manned by their own people. They had hope in this country. And there are all two kinds of leaders. Either those who make sacrifices for self or those who make sacrifices of self. They made sacrifices of self for the greater interests of the larger majority. Of course, that's the certain. And the kind of political parties that we run today, honestly, not necessarily holistically in tandem with ideological standards set by, these people I mentioned. We need a party that should be sanitized. We need a party that should be highly independent. We need a party, the processes of electing leaders should be domiciled within the rank and file of the party, within the conscience of the party, and not being influenced by powers outside.
A number of people say that one of the reasons the political parties are not playing this role that you have put forward and that you've compared with our founding fathers is because the political parties have increasingly become undemocratic. That instead of being strong institutions, that what you have are strong individuals, governors, presidents, senators. They've become so powerful that the will of the people is constantly and continuously eroded. Do you subscribe to this argument?
Well, the truth is that I have always insisted that the biggest office in the country is the office of the citizen. For it behoves on us to always be truthful, to be sincere, despite the positions we occupy, either in the party or in government. The truth is that our institutions are capitulating and strong men are germinating everywhere. Powerful people within and around government, a party, influence decisions that parties make. But then that calls, that demands a further analysis of whom the politician is. Because I do not believe in generalization. There are individuals that are wired to propagate kind of transition that will bring an atmosphere that is sanitized enough to incubate quality leadership. And such individuals are still within the party and within politics. So the question is, who is the Nigerian politician? Some view Nigerian politicians as a conflicted individual, split personality, capable of doing two different things that are opposed to each other. Some also feel that the politicians are kind of a set of an idle parasitic rent collecting or rent seeking class whose business is to propagate profligacy and corruption within the system. But I insist that within this space lies certain persons that have sacrificed a lot, that are willing, if given opportunity, to develop this country and make hard decisions that will not reflect the impediments that we have suffered. In a country where we have been set aback, we have gone through certain kind of deterioration of some sort under the watch or under the auspices of religious bigotry, ethnic chauvinism, ethnic profiling, identity politics, and unbridled corruption.
But Steve, the idea of political parties is that it should be a platform for sieving some of the characters that you have talked about and making sure that those that get to political offices are really those that are committed to the well-being of the people. But what we see is that the political parties have become a market where the highest bidder becomes the representative of the people.
Like I said earlier on, the major problem today is what becomes the fate of the country. What country are we living for our children? Even if you feel that you feel immune, if you feel, protected by certain scenario that has played out today, probably you have enough money, you're getting enough patronage from the government today. What about your children tomorrow? What kind of environment are you living for them?
So what do we do?
This is exactly why I talk of personalities within government or within political parties. Those personalities determine the fate of the political parties. As an institution, if you unveil the veil, you find out that human beings actually determine what happens within the institution called political parties. So the caliber of men and women that congregate to form political parties or manage them will also influence the outcome of what they generate or what they produce.
So what do we do, Steve? What do we do? What do we do to make the political parties exactly what they are supposed to be?
What we need to do first is that we need to accept that we have moved so much on the reverse gear. This country needs to move forward. So individually and collectively, there should be a wake-up call. And that's why I like whatever played out in the last election. There seemed to be a reawakening, there seemed to be a rebirth, there seemed to be a renaissance on the side of the youth and entirety of the people. They felt it was enough. Despite the fact that probably the result of God could have reflected what they wished or not, but you could see that they made a statement. So the Nigerian politicians, the elitist class, they have become wary of what the electorate can do, of what the populace can do, of the defiance that the electorate can actually generate within the society. So for you to now conduct a proper party, you have to reflect on the powers of the electorate and how they're going to react. So this is no longer a time you do all manner of sham primaries and end up bringing rogue elements to govern your people. It's a time to look for a candidate that resonates with the yearning of the masses, with the interest of the poorer majority.
Some experts have talked about conflicts in the political parties, making it impossible for the political parties to actually concentrate on their primary duty of being the incubation hub for leaders that can cause change to happen. Let's look at Labour Party in Nigeria, for instance. They made a lot of gains in the last election. Today, they almost dissipated. Let's look at the PDP, your party. In the past 3 or more years, it's been a struggle of who is in charge and who is winning and who is losing. And I remember one of the positions you held like a year ago was to go and reconcile your party men in Ebonyi State. So conflict, and conflict. How can we change the course of political parties instead of being battlegrounds, so they can be that platform that would throw up the leaders that can change our country?
Well, let me start with the first suspicion that the PDP, the Labour Party, seem to be faltering, seem to be, capitulating in terms of, the quality of leadership one would expect. And there seems to be identity crisis as to who is in charge. First of all, I see the voice of Jacob, but the hands of Esau. I think that people are surreptitiously, tacitly trying to infiltrate into the parties to create a one-party system. And I think if we deny ourselves the opportunity of having plurality of voices, plurality of opinions through the channels or through the instrumentality of party politics, then we will diving into dictatorship. So first of all, let me talk about the party I know, which is the PDP. Things that happen with the Labour Party, I don't think they concern me a lot. But for the PDP, the governors of the PDP have actually stepped up. They've engaged gear at the right time, and they want to recover their party. So all the machineries of the party are working in one accord at the moment, in a very vigorous attempt to re-establish their party, to be effective enough to go into primaries and bring out a candidate that can challenge for the office of the presidency.
Okay, Steve, we'll take a break. You've talked about how we could make some progress in making the parties what they should be. But it looks like there's constant opposition to this happening. The state governors, they have too much powers, and they control the parties and decide the fate of everyone. Do you agree with some school of thought that for political parties to survive in Nigeria, that we need to do something about the powers that the governors have?
I don't agree. I don't even stage impossibility. I don't engage pursuit of, futility of some sort. Because the way party is structured, it goes in line with the leadership of the state, particularly when you have a governor who is of the party's extraction. Definitely he's going to be the leader of the party, while you also have a chairman of the party. So if there are people that are very creative and very willing to partner with Nigerians in this constant search for emancipation from sequence of misrule, then you see them behaving in a way that will propagate an effective, very robust, and very qualitative party where there will be national consensus, where there will be, exemplary leadership that others can emulate.
But the governors don't allow the chairman to be chairman.
No, I disagree. It all depends on the governor. That's why I talk about individuals. Mm-hmm. It borders on the personality. I've told you that the typical Nigerian position, has like two different characters. If you present the quality of character that is in consonance with, with quality delivery of the dividends of democracy and standard practices in tune with what Nigerians expect, you find your result. If you're also unlucky to find a governor who is not in that spirit, he's going to distort the process.
Do you think that a crop of governors can give us a democratic party across board, whether they are APC, whether they are PDP, whether they are APGA, whether they are Labour Party?
I don't think so. I can only speak about the governors I stand for, particularly the new governor, with the practice that he has come to do. But that will be a matter for another day. But the most important thing as it stands today is that we are seeking independence. Nigerian people, through the party, are seeking independence, not from the imperialists, not from the colonial masters, but from the a dysfunctional political class, from those who engage in elitist deceits and intellectual dishonesty. They are looking for leaders that can call their own leaders.
Are we hopeless?
Well, it's not a hopeless situation. I told you that we have characters that are credible, piloting the affairs of the party and determine the future of the people. You know, because the party is not just a party, but it's a conduit pipe for leadership recruitment process. So if you don't find the right party and right attitude within the rank and file of the party, you're likely going to find a dysfunctional system.
Okay, Steve, I'd like to thank you for your time and for your insights. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you very much.
And that was Steve Oruruo, Deputy Chairman of PDP in Enugu State. And that's where we're drawing the curtain on our show tonight. I'm Vin Martin Obiora Ilo from Enugu in Nigeria. Don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms. If you missed part of this program and you want to watch it again, go to signaturetv.org or download the Signature app. Thanks for watching, and let's do it again tomorrow night at 11 p.m.